Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, how are you? I hope you are always in a good condition. My name is Marisa Izza Afkarina and my ID number is T2019-6169. I'm an undergraduate student and I'm in the 5th semester. I'm from English Education Department 4. In this opportunity, I would like to accomplish my final task in Qualitative Research Methods in Language Education. And here, I would like to tell you about Phenomenological Research. So, let's just get started. As we know that phenomenology was discovered by Edmund Husserl, and according to Creswell, 2013, phenomenology is an approach to qualitative research that focuses on commonality of lived experience within a particular group. In the other words, we can say that a phenomenological study describes the meaning for several individuals of their lived experience of a concept or a phenomenon. The fundamental goals of the phenomenological research is to arrive at description of the nature of the particular phenomenon. Typically, interviews are conducted with a group of individuals who have first-hand knowledge of an event, situation, or experience. The interviews attempts to answer two broad questions. The questions are, what have you experienced in the terms of phenomenon? What context or situation have you typically influenced your experience of the phenomenon? Okay, now other forms of the data such as documents, observation, and so forth. The data is then read and reread and called for like phrases and themes. There are then groups from cluster of meaning. Through this process, the researcher may construct the universal meaning of the event, situation, or experience and arrive to a more profound understanding of the phenomenon. Now, let's move to the types of phenomenology. There are two types of phenomenology. The first one is Transcendental Phenomenology or Descriptive Phenomenology. In Descriptive Phenomenology, one has the technique of bracketing off influences around the phenomenon to get to the essences. The focus of descriptive phenomenology is the correlation of the noema of experience or the what and the noises or how it is experienced. Once the things themselves have been identified or otherwise analyzed, descriptive phenomenology consider it works down. The researcher can do what he or she likes with the outcomes, but this action will be a departure for descriptive phenomenology. Simply, descriptive phenomenology is focused less on the researcher interpretation and more on the describing experiences of the participants. The second one is hermeneutic phenomenology or interpretive phenomenology. In interpretive phenomenology, one has approaches that recommend to the researcher to interpret the meanings found in relation of phenomena. Often these approaches suggest the analysis of the text to find these meanings and allow interpretation. The focus is on understanding the meaning of the experience by searching for the themes, engaging with the data interpretively with less emphasis of the sense that are important to descriptive phenomenology. Also, these types of phenomenology prefers not to formalize an analytical method so that the context of the phenomenon itself can dictate how the data analyzed. Simply, interpretation phenomenology is reflecting on the lived experience with the interpretation by the researcher. And now let's move to the procedures for conducting phenomenological research. The first one is the researcher determines if the research problem is best examined using phenomenological approach. The type of problem best suited for these forms of research in which it is important to understand several individuals' common or shared experience of the phenomenon. It will be important to understand these common experiences in order to develop practices or policies or develop a deeper understanding about the features of phenomenon. And then the second one is phenomenon of interest to study. It is such as anger, professionalism, what it means to be underweight or what it means to be Wessler is identified. And an expert provides numerous examples of phenomena that have been studied. The third one is the researcher recognizes and specifies the broad philosophical assumption of phenomenology. For example, one could write about the combination of objective reality and individual experiences to fully describe how participants view the phenomenon. Researchers must break it out as much as possible their own experiences. And then the fourth one is data are collected from the individuals who have experience to the phenomenon. Often data collection in phenomenological studies consists of in-depth interview and multiple interview with the participants. And the fifth one is the participants are asked two board questions or general question as I mentioned before. What have you experienced in the terms of phenomenon? What is context or situation have typically influenced your experiences of the phenomenon? And the other open-ended question may also be asked, but these two questions are the main focus. From the other source that I have read, I can catch some points from that source. While conducting a phenomenological research, it often pertains four necessary steps of. The first one is bracketing. In this stage, it attempts to ascertain the researcher brackets out the surrounding and any presuppositions contained in a bid to confront the data in a very pure form. The second one is intuiting. After bracketing out is done, intuition follows where the researcher now remains focused on the attributed meaning of the phenomenon by the preceded research. Through this process, a shared understanding of a phenomenon on whatever being studied is achieved. To efficiently accomplish this process, the researcher should provide the variance of the data until a common understanding is met. Therefore, this process calls for researcher to be immersed in the study and the phenomenon being studied. The third one is analyzing. After accomplishing the intuition process, the analysis is the next step. In this process, coding is done where categorizing and making sense of the significant meanings of the phenomenon is created. Some experts stresses that persistent working with the detailed data to emergence of essence and universal themes. When the researcher is in this process, there is the need to immerse for as long as possible for attaining pure and through description of the phenomenon. And then the fourth one is the critical step of any phenomenological research is the description. In the description stage, this is where comprehension and definition of the phenomenon are done by the researcher. This is purposed to provide the final step that catapults communication and over distinction and critical descriptions in both written and verbal form. And now let's move to the strengths and weaknesses of phenomenological research. The strength is the phenomenological approach provides a rich and complete description of human experience and meanings. Findings are allowed to emerge rather than being imposed by an investigator. Careful techniques are used to keep description as faithful as possible to the experimental raw data. In this accomplished by extreme care in moving step by step and in being ever mindful to not delete from, add to, change or distort anything originally present in the initial meaning units of the participant transcript and so forth. And now let's move to the weaknesses. The method depends on the articulate skill of the participant who provide the information. Logistical and generalization issues are connected with this. And conclusion depends on the particular participant chosen for the study in its orientation towards a particular time frame or moment. The method may miss information about broader periods or about the development or time course of an experience. In focusing on a rich description of an experience, the method may miss information about what led up to that experience, what its outcomes or sequences might be, and what the concomitants and the other factors associated with the experience are. Okay, maybe that's all that I can share and explain. I do apologize if I've done anything wrong, and I hope it will be useful. Thank you for watching, and last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.